The massive ship moved through space without a sound. Inside, Commander Taeho Kim looked out at the stars. He straightened his blue uniform and touched the Earth patch on his shoulder. Even after 5 years in space, he still felt proud to wear it. "Commander, we will arrive at the Confederation hub in 10 minutes, said his pilot. Taeho nodded. Thank you, Minsu. He was not happy about this trip. The Galactic Confederation rarely called humans to their meetings. Humans were too new to space travel. Too primitive, they said. Earth had only learned how to travel faster than light 30 years ago. The other races had been doing it for thousands of years. But the message that came 3 days ago was different. It was marked most urgent and requested Earth's top military leader to come at once. That was Taeho. Whatever they want, it must be serious, he said to himself. The ship slowed as it approached the hub, a massive space station that looked like a silver wheel with 12 long spokes. Each spoke was bigger than Earth's largest city. The hub was home to the High Council, where the 23 alien races of the Confederation made decisions that affected the whole galaxy. As their small ship docked, Taeho saw hundreds of other ships. Many were huge, at least 10 times bigger than anything humans had built. They're all military vessels, Minsu said with surprise. From every Confederation race. Taeho felt a chill. The peaceful Confederation rarely gathered military ships. 2 tall, blue-skinned aliens met them at the dock. They had forearms each and wore silver robes with symbols of the High Council. Commander Kim of Earth, one said in perfect English. I am Zirak. The Council awaits you. They walked through wide hallways filled with aliens of all shapes and sizes. Some looked almost human. Others were so strange that Taeho couldn't tell which end was their head. The council chamber was enormous. A round room with rising seats held representatives from all 23 races. Taeho had only seen pictures of most of them. Humans were still learning about their galactic neighbors. In the center of the room was a large round table. Zarak pointed Taeho to an empty seat. Around the table sat what appeared to be military leaders from each race, wearing their own versions of formal uniforms. The oldest-looking alien stood up. He had gray skin, no hair, and 6 fingers on each hand. His eyes were completely black. I am High Counselor Vorn, and I call this emergency meeting to order, he said, his voice deep and slow. Commander Kim, thank you for coming on such short notice. We have a grave matter to discuss. Vorn waved his hand and the lights dimmed. A 3-dimensional map of the galaxy appeared above the table. 3 months ago, we lost contact with the Pelleran system at the edge of our territory, Vorn said, pointing to a blinking red dot. We sent ships to investigate. None returned. More red dots appeared on the map. 2 months ago, the Krell system went dark. Then the Boros system. Last week, we lost the Talon system. Whatever is happening is moving inward, toward the more populated areas of our galaxy. Taeho leaned forward. What is causing this? A female alien with feathers instead of hair spoke up. We call them the Void Eaters. We managed to capture this footage before losing the Talon system. The map disappeared. In its place appeared a recording of space. At first it showed only stars. Then something strange happened. The stars began to disappear, as if being swallowed by an invisible force. Where stars vanished, there was nothing but empty blackness. They don't destroy planets or stars, the feathered alien said. They simply remove them from existence. Our scientists believe they are consuming the very fabric of space-time. How do we fight something like that? Asked a reptilian commander across the table. Vorn sighed. That is why we are here today. Our most powerful weapons have had no effect. Our most advanced ships have been lost. Then Vorn looked directly at Taeho. But there is an ancient prophecy, one that dates back to the founding of the Confederation 20,000 years ago. The image changed again, showing strange symbols that Taeho couldn't read. It says, when darkness consumes the stars, those with the flame of chaos in their souls shall be the salvation. The text describes beings that sound remarkably like humans. The room went quiet. Taeho felt all eyes on him. Humans? He asked in disbelief. We are the newest, least advanced species here. How could we be mentioned in a prophecy from before we even left our own planet? A large, rocky-skinned alien spoke. The description is clear. Beings who live short, intense lives, who think with both logic and emotion, who act not just on knowledge but on instinct, who create art and war with equal passion. That could describe many species, Tejo argued. The prophecy also mentions specific physical traits, Vorn added. Beings who stand on two legs, see in a narrow light spectrum, hear limited frequencies, and yet somehow perceive more than their senses allow. Beings who evolved on a world with one sun and one moon. Before Tejo could respond, an alarm blared. The map reappeared, showing a new red dot. The Void Eaters have reached the Proxima system, Vorn announced. Tejo stood up quickly. That's where we have our largest human outpost. Yes, Vorn said. 3 million of your people live there. Tejo tapped his communication device. Connect me to Admiral Ji-un Park at Proxima Base. A moment later, a woman's face appeared as a hologram above the table. She looked calm, but Tejo could see worry in her eyes. Commander Kim, we are tracking multiple unknown objects entering our system, Admiral Ji-un reported. They're like nothing we've ever seen. Not exactly ships, more like tears in space itself. Admiral, listen carefully, Tejo said. The Confederation believes these are extremely dangerous. They've destroyed 4 systems already. You need to evacuate immediately. Ji-un frowned. Evacuation would take days. By then, whatever these things are will reach the main colony. We only have 12 military ships here, but we can fight. One of the alien commanders spoke up. Fighting is useless. We lost 50 advanced warships in the Talon system. With all due respect, Ji-un said, humans don't abandon our people. Before anyone could stop her, Ji-un cut the communication. The map showed the 12 small human ships moving toward the Void Eaters. This is madness, the rocky-skinned alien said. They will be destroyed. For the next hour, the Council watched in silence as the human ships engaged the Void Eaters. The humans didn't use standard Confederation tactics. They split up, attacked from multiple angles, and seemed to change their plans every few minutes. To everyone's shock, the Void Eaters retreated. The human fleet lost 5 ships, but they had protected their colony. When Ji-un's face appeared again, she was bleeding from a cut on her forehead. We drove them back, she said simply, but they'll return with more. We need reinforcements. After the communication ended, the room stayed silent for a long moment. Finally, Vorn looked at Tejo. It seems, he said slowly, that the prophecy may be true after all. The galaxy needed perfect, logical heroes with advanced technology. Instead, it found humans, unpredictable, emotional, and willing to fight against impossible odds. Tejo stood up. If you want our help, we'll give it. But not because of some ancient prophecy. We'll fight because that's what humans do when people are in danger. For the first time, Vorn smiled. Perhaps that is exactly why the prophecy chose your kind. News of the human victory at Proxima spread quickly through the Confederation. For the first time in months, there was hope. But no one was more surprised than the humans themselves. Tejo sat in a large meeting room aboard the hub. Representatives from Earth's government had arrived overnight, and they looked completely out of place among the alien delegates. Let me make sure I understand, said Hannah, Earth's lead ambassador. She was a small woman with short gray hair and a stern face. You want humans to lead the fight against these Void Eaters? We've only been part of the Confederation for 27 years. Most of your species still think of us as primitive cave people with fancy spaceships. High Counselor Vorn nodded. That is precisely why we need you. The Void Eaters seem to predict our every move. Our logical, ordered approach to battle has failed. But your ships at Proxima did what our advanced fleets could not. Tejo shook his head. That was just one battle, and we got lucky. Perhaps, said a tall, thin alien with pale blue skin. Or perhaps there is something unique about humans. I am Alara, Science Director of the Valoran people. The Valorans were known as the most logical beings in the galaxy. They had no art, no music, and supposedly no emotions. Alara continued, We have been studying the data from the Proxima battle. There is a pattern, or rather a lack of pattern, to human actions that seems to confuse the Void Eaters. We want to run tests, Vorn said, and we need your best scientists to help us understand why humans were effective. 3 days later, Dr. Hyunwoo Lee arrived at the hub. He was Earth's top xenobiologist, someone who studied alien life. He was young for his position, just 35, with round glasses and an excited look in his eyes. "This place is amazing," Hyunwoo said as he walked with Tae-ho to the research lab. "So many species all working together. I've spent my life studying alien biology, but this is my first time meeting most of these races in person." Tae-ho smiled. Hyunwoo's excitement was exactly what they needed right now. The lab was huge, filled with strange equipment. Ilara was waiting for them. "Dr. Lee," she said with a small bow, "we have prepared several tests. Are you ready to begin?" For the next week, Hyunwoo worked day and night with Ilara and scientists from 12 different species. They scanned human brains, tested human blood, and recorded human reactions to various situations. "It's fascinating," Hyunwoo told Tae-ho one evening. "They keep trying to find some special thing in our biology, some magic human quality. But I think they're missing the point." "Which is?" Tae-ho asked. "That we're not special at all. We're actually quite ordinary. But that ordinariness might be what makes us different." On the 8th day, Hyunwoo burst into Tae-ho's room, his eyes wide with excitement. "I found it," he shouted. "Come quickly." In the lab, Hyunwoo showed Tae-ho and Vorn a series of brain scans. "Look at this," he said, pointing to a human brain. "Scan." Our brains create a unique electromagnetic field pattern. When we feel emotions, when we make quick decisions, the pattern changes rapidly and unpredictably. He showed another scan from a captured piece of a Void Eater. They communicate through a similar kind of field, a hive mind, but their patterns are extremely ordered. When our patterns get close to theirs, it's like static on a radio. We create noise that disrupts their communication. Vorn looked confused. "Are you saying humans defeat the Void Eaters by simply being human?" "Basically, yes," Hyunwoo nodded. "Our emotions, our impulses, our ability to make illogical choices, these things create patterns that the Void Eaters can't predict. It confuses them." Ilara, who had been listening silently, finally spoke. "This is difficult to accept. You suggest that the very qualities we Valorans have worked for millennia to eliminate, emotion, impulse, illogic, are now our salvation?" "I'm afraid so," Hyunwoo said with a small smile. Meanwhile, in another part of the hub, a young human engineer named Subin Kang was causing trouble. She had arrived with the second group of human experts and was supposed to be studying Confederation ship designs. Instead, she was taking things apart without permission. "What are you doing to that engine?" asked a horrified Krontan engineer. The Krontans were a warrior race with thick green skin and 4 eyes. They built the strongest ships in the Confederation. "Improving it," Subin said without looking up. She was small, with short black hair and hands that never seemed to stop moving. "Your power distribution is all wrong. You're wasting at least 30% of your energy. That design has been standard for 200 years. "The Krontan," said Subin, shrugged, "doesn't make it good." Later that day, Subin stood before the military command of the Confederation. Tae-ho was there too, worried about what the young engineer had done. "I have an idea," Subin said, showing no fear of the important aliens around her. "We need to build space torpedoes." "Torpedoes?" asked the Krontan general. "Like the primitive underwater weapons from your planet's history?" "Exactly," Subin nodded. "But space versions, self-guided, with minimal electronic systems. The Void Eaters seem to detect and avoid energy signatures they recognize. But a basic projectile weapon, powered by simple explosives with just enough guidance to find its target, they might not see it coming." "This is barbaric," the Krontan general said. "Maybe," Subin agreed. "But sometimes old and simple is better than new and complicated." The room erupted in argument. Most of the alien commanders thought Subin's idea was ridiculous. But 3 more systems had fallen to the Void Eaters in the past week alone. Finally, Vorn raised his hand for silence. Engineer Kang will be given resources to build a prototype, he decided. And Commander Kim will form a joint task force with ships from all willing Confederation species. Me? Taeho asked in surprise. Yes, Vorn said. The prophecy mentions leaders who rise not from desire for power but from duty. That describes you, Commander. 2 days later, Taeho met with his new fleet captains. There were 20 of them, from 15 different species. Some looked doubtful about serving under a human. Others seemed curious. I won't pretend to have all the answers, Taeho told them. I'm as new to this as you are. But we know that human unpredictability seems to work against the Void Eaters. So we're going to train together, and I'm going to ask you all to do something very difficult. What is that? Asked a bird-like captain. Learn to think like humans, Taeho said. Be less perfect. Make choices based on feeling sometimes, not just logic. Take risks when the situation calls for it, a reptilian captain hissed. You ask us? To abandon thousands of years of military tradition. Yes, Taeho nodded. Because those traditions aren't working against this enemy. We either adapt, or we watch as the Void Eaters consume the entire galaxy, system by system. As the captains left to prepare their ships, Taeho looked out a window at the stars. He had never wanted to be a hero. No human had asked for this responsibility. Yet here they were, the galaxy's last hope. Not because they were the strongest, or the smartest, but because they were different. Strange how things work out, he said to himself. The galaxy needed perfect heroes. Instead, they got us, messy, emotional humans. Let's hope that's enough. The training of the joint fleet was not going well. After 2 weeks, tensions between the human commanders and the alien captains had reached a breaking point. They were in a large space near the hub, practicing battle formations. No, Taeho said into his communication system. Beta Squadron, you're staying too close to your planned route. I told you to vary your approach. We are following the pattern you approved yesterday, replied the Valoran captain of Beta Squadron. That was a starting point, not a fixed plan, Taeho explained, trying to stay patient. You need to adapt based on what Alpha Squadron is doing. But Alpha Squadron's movements appear random, complained the Valoran. How can we adapt to randomness? Taeho rubbed his forehead. This was the problem. The alien captains couldn't understand why humans kept changing plans. To them, a good strategy was one that was carefully made and strictly followed. Admiral Ji-eun Park had arrived from Proxima 3 days ago to help with training. She floated her ship next to Taeho's. They don't get it, she said over a private channel. And they never will if we keep trying to explain it. They need to experience it. What do you suggest? Taeho asked. Ji-eun smiled. Something a bit human. The next day, all ship captains gathered on Taeho's command vessel for a new training exercise. Ji-eun stood before them, looking serious. Today, we will practice what happens when communication breaks down, she announced. In a real battle with the Void Eaters, they might jam our signals or destroy communication relays. She pressed a button and a holographic map appeared showing a star system with planets and moons. Your mission is to protect the 3rd planet. My ship will play the role of the Void Eaters. You will work together to stop me. The captains nodded. This seemed like a normal exercise. One more thing, Ji-eun added. 5 minutes into the exercise, all communication systems will fail. You won't be able to talk to each other or receive orders. You'll have to decide what to do on your own. Some of the alien captains looked worried. They were used to clear command structures and constant communication. But how will we coordinate without communication? Asked a Krontan captain. That's exactly what you need to figure out, Ji-eun said. When the exercise began, the fleet formed up in standard Confederation formation, a tight, organized pattern that looked impressive but was too predictable. Ji-eun's ship approached, pretending to be a Void Eater force. Exactly 5 minutes in, all communication systems went silent. Ji-eun had shut them down remotely. What happened next was chaos. The alien ships tried to stick to their formation, but without being able to adjust to each other's movements, they started to drift apart. Some tried to follow the last orders they had heard. Others froze, waiting for new instructions that would never come. The human ships, however, began to move independently. Each captain made their own decisions based on what they could see happening. They protected the planet from different angles, covered each other without being told to, and adapted to Ji-Eun's attacks in real time. By the end of the exercise, the human ships had successfully defended the planet while most of the alien ships had been destroyed by Ji-Eun's simulated attacks. Afterward, the captains gathered again on Tai-Ho's ship. Many of the aliens were upset. "This was an unfair test," said the Krontan general. "No proper military would ever function without a chain of command." Jin Ho-yoon, a human tactical officer who had been watching, stepped forward. He was older than most of the other humans, with gray in his hair and scars on his face from Earth's wars before they joined the Confederation. "With respect, General," Jin Ho said, "you're thinking about war the wrong way. War isn't fair. It's messy. It's chaotic. And the side that can function in chaos has the advantage." "Explain," demanded the general. Jin Ho walked to the holographic display and brought up images from Earth's history. Humans have been fighting wars for thousands of years. We learned something important. Rigid formations and strict orders work well against enemies who fight the same way. But when you face an unpredictable enemy, you need what we call controlled chaos. "That is a contradiction," said the Valoran captain. "Chaos cannot be controlled." "It can't be controlled completely," Jin Ho agreed, "but it can be directed. Instead of giving specific orders for every situation, you give your people a clear goal and basic rules. Then trust them to make decisions based on what they see in front of them." The Krontan general looked doubtful. "This goes against all Confederation military teaching." "Yes," Tae-Ho said, "and that's exactly why the Void Eaters can predict your every move. They've studied your patterns. They know how you think. But humans, we're messier, less predictable. Humans evolved differently than most species here," Ji-Eun added. "Your ancestors were always the top predators on your worlds. You developed logical, methodical hunting strategies because they worked. But humans, we were prey animals first. We had to be unpredictable to survive the bigger predators. Later, when we became predators ourselves, we kept that unpredictability." A tall, four-armed alien who had been quiet until now spoke up. She was a psychologist from a species called the Teln, known for their study of minds. "I have been watching the human ships during training," she said. "They do not follow paths, they create them as they go. It is as if each human ship has its own mind rather than being part of a single entity." "That's exactly it," Jin Ho said. "We call it initiative. Each captain makes decisions based on the main goal, not specific orders." The next day they tried a new approach to training. They divided the fleet into small groups, each with at least one human ship. Instead of detailed battle plans, Tae-Ho gave them simple objectives: protect this area, attack that target, support this group. The results were mixed. The human ships adapted quickly, but many alien captains struggled without specific instructions. Some did better than others. The younger captains, who had less experience with traditional Confederation tactics, seemed to learn the human way faster. After a week of this new training, Subin Kang arrived with exciting news. Her space torpedoes were ready for testing. The entire command team gathered to watch as a test torpedo was launched at a target drone designed to mimic a Void Eater's energy signature. The torpedo didn't look impressive. It was basically a metal tube with small guidance fins and a simple engine. But as it approached the target, something amazing happened. The drone tried to move away, just as a real Void Eater would, but the torpedo followed, making small, unpredictable adjustments to its path. "How is it tracking the target?" asked the Valoran science director. "I detect almost no electronic systems," Subin smiled proudly. "That's the point. It uses very basic guidance, mechanical and chemical, not digital. The Void Eaters can't hack or predict it because there's almost nothing to predict. It's guided by chaos, tiny random factors that even I can't fully control." The torpedo hit the drone directly, destroying it in a bright flash. The Krontan general nodded slowly, beginning to understand. So this is the human way. Not perfect technology, but technology that embraces imperfection. Exactly, Taeho said. And now we need to teach your ships to fight the same way. Not as perfect, predictable machines, but as adaptable, unpredictable warriors. Jinho looked at the destroyed target drone and then at the mixed fleet of ships. The Void Eaters want order, he said. We'll give them chaos instead. The day for the first real battle against the Void Eaters finally came. Reports showed that they were approaching the Rigel system, home to over 2 billion people across 3 planets. All ships, prepare for jump, Taeho commanded from his flagship. The joint fleet was impressive. 200 ships from 17 different species, all equipped with Subin's torpedoes and trained in the new chaos strategy. Ji-Yoon's voice came through the communication system. Remember your training. Don't try to follow complex patterns. Adapt to what you see. Trust your instincts. The fleet jumped to the Rigel system, arriving just as the Void Eaters appeared. From a distance, they looked like black tears in space, areas where stars simply disappeared. All ships, engage according to Plan Alpha, Taeho ordered. Plan Alpha wasn't really a plan in the traditional sense. It was more of a starting point, with each ship group having a general area to protect. The battle began well. The Void Eaters seemed confused by the human-led fleet's movements. Subin's torpedoes worked perfectly, causing visible damage to the enemy. It's working, Ji-Yoon shouted. Keep pushing. But then something changed. The Void Eaters started to move differently, as if they were learning, adapting to the human strategy. They're figuring us out, Hyunwoo said from his position in the science bay of Taeho's ship. They're learning our patterns. But we don't have patterns, Taeho said, confused. That's the whole point. Even chaos has patterns if you look at it long enough, Hyunwoo explained. They're a hive mind, remember? They're sharing information, learning collectively. The tide of battle turned quickly. 3 Confederation ships were destroyed in rapid succession. Then 5 more. We need to retreat, the Krontan general advised over the communication system. Regroup and form a new strategy. Taeho looked at the tactical display. The Void Eaters were pressing forward, threatening to break through to the first populated planet. Agreed, he said reluctantly. All ships, fall back to Rally Point Omega. As the fleet retreated, the Void Eaters pursued. They moved faster than before, almost as if they were eager to finish what they had started. They're not letting us go, Ji-Yoon reported. They're adapting to our jump signatures. Taeho made a quick decision. Change destination, all ships jumpy, to New Seoul. New Seoul was a small human colony world at the edge of Confederation space. It wasn't strategically important, but it was far away from major population centers. Why there? Asked the Valorant captain. Because it's unexpected, Taeho replied. And right now, we need to be unpredictable. Most of the fleet made the jump to New Seoul. But in the chaos of retreat, about 40 ships were cut off and had to jump to different locations. Communications were disrupted across many ships, making it impossible to coordinate. When Taeho's ship arrived at New Seoul, he found only half of his fleet there. Worse, the colony wasn't prepared for a potential attack. It had minimal defenses and only a small military presence. Commander, we're receiving transmissions from the other ships, said Min-Soo, Taeho's communications officer. They're scattered across 5 different systems. Some are damaged and can't make another jump soon. And the Void Eaters? Taeho asked. Min-Soo looked grim. Long-range sensors show they're on their way here. They've tracked our main group. Taeho called an emergency meeting with the captains who had made it to New Seoul. The situation was dire. We have maybe 6 hours before they arrive, he told them. Not enough time for the rest of our fleet to regroup here. We need to prepare, to defend this colony with what we have. As the military ships prepared for battle, something unexpected happened. Dae-Jung Choi, captain of a civilian mining vessel in orbit around New Seoul, called Taeho. Commander, I heard about the situation, Dae-Jung said. He was an older man with a weathered face. "I have 50 mining ships here. We want to help." "That's brave, but mining ships aren't built for battle," Taeho replied. "No, but we have mining explosives," Daejung said with a smile, "and we know how to place them for maximum effect. Let us create a minefield in space. It might slow them down." Taeho thought for a moment, then nodded. "Do it. Any help is welcome." All across the colony, humans were taking action without waiting for orders. Yejin Han, a retired military officer who now lived on New Seoul, gathered volunteers to reactivate an old planetary defense system. "This hasn't been used in years," said a young engineer working with her. "The power connections are completely outdated." Yejin looked at her own ship parked nearby. "Then we'll connect it to my ship's power core. It's not standard procedure, but it might work." "That could overload your ship's systems," the engineer warned. "Better to lose one ship than the whole colony," Yejin replied. In orbit, Daejung's mining ship spread out, placing explosives in a wide pattern. It wasn't an elegant solution, but it created an unpredictable hazard that the Void Eaters would have to navigate. On Taeho's flagship, Hyunwoo was working on another idea. He had been studying the recordings from their first battle and noticed something interesting. When our ships use their emergency signals, the ones that make that loud, jarring noise, the Void Eaters seem to hesitate, he told Taeho. "I think certain sounds or frequencies might disrupt them." "Like what?" Taeho asked. "Music," Hyunwoo said. "Human music. It's full of emotional patterns that their hive mind can't process easily. It creates a kind of mental static for them." It was a strange idea, but at this point, Taeho was willing to try anything. He ordered all ships to prepare to broadcast music on all frequencies when the Void Eaters arrived. When the enemy finally appeared, they faced not a coordinated military force, but thousands of independent actors, all making their own decisions. Mining ships darted between military vessels. Improvised explosives detonated in seemingly random patterns. The old planetary defense system, connected to Yejin's ship power core, fired in unpredictable bursts. And through it all, the sound of human music blasted on all communication channels. Everything from classical compositions to modern pop songs. The mixture of sounds created a chaotic emotional backdrop that seemed to confuse the Void Eaters. "It's working!" Ji-un shouted over the noise. "They're slowing down, getting confused." The battle for New Seoul wasn't elegant or organized. It was messy, improvised, and chaotic, just like humans themselves. Military ships fought alongside civilian vessels. People with no battle training used whatever tools they had available. No one followed a master plan because there wasn't one. And for the first time since they appeared, the Void Eaters retreated. They pulled back, away from the colony, away from the unpredictable defense that they couldn't understand or predict. As the enemy disappeared from their sensors, a cheer went up across all human ships. The aliens watched in amazement. "I don't understand," said the Valorant captain. "That wasn't a proper military victory, it was disorder." Taeho smiled. "Sometimes disorder is exactly what you need. That's the human element. We don't always follow the rules, even our own." The Kruntan general nodded slowly. "Perhaps there is wisdom in your chaos after all." The victory at New Seoul changed everything. News spread quickly throughout the Confederation. For the first time, people believed the Void Eaters could be defeated. 2 days after the battle, the Confederation High Council called an emergency meeting. Taeho, Ji-un, Hyunwoo, and Subin attended, along with Daejung and Yejin, whose actions had helped save New Seoul. "We have analyzed the battle data," High Counselor Vorn said. His voice sounded different, less formal, more energetic. "And we have come to a conclusion that would have seemed impossible just months ago." The holographic display in the center of the council chamber showed images from the battle. It highlighted the chaos of the human defense, mining ships flying, alongside military vessels, music broadcasting on all channels, improvised weapons being used in ways they were never designed for. "The Void Eaters can predict patterns," Vorn continued. "They study how we fight and adapt to it. For thousands of years, the Confederation has valued order, precision, and logic in warfare. We thought these were strengths. Now we see they are weaknesses against this enemy. The Krontan general stepped forward. We propose a new strategy, not just for one battle, but for the entire war. The display changed to show a map of Confederation space, with red dots marking areas where the Void Eaters had been seen. We will form small mixed-species task forces, the general explained, each led by a human commander, each with the freedom to fight in the human way, adapting, improvising, making decisions without waiting for orders from Central Command. Many council members looked uncomfortable with this idea. One stood up to object. This goes against 10,000 years of Confederation military doctrine, he said. You ask us to abandon our traditions for chaos? Not chaos, Ji-un corrected. Controlled unpredictability. There's a difference. And yes, we are asking exactly that, Vorn said, firmly, because our traditions are failing us. 3 more systems fell while we were defending New Seoul. Billions of lives lost because our forces waited for orders that never came, followed plans that didn't work. Silence fell over the chamber. The stakes were clear. There's something else, Hyunwoo said, stepping forward. Something we discovered while studying the Void Eaters. He projected new images, complex energy patterns that swirled and shifted. These are dimensional readings from the areas where the Void Eaters appear. They're not just traveling through our space, they're coming from somewhere else, another dimension that exists alongside ours. Subin joined him. We think we can use this information to track them back to their source, maybe even open a way to their home dimension. You want to attack them in their own territory? Asked a shocked council member. That's never been done before. Exactly, Taeho said. That's why it might work. They won't expect it. After hours of debate, the council approved the plan. It would happen in 2 parts. First, the mixed task forces would defend key systems across Confederation space. Then, once they had more information about the Void Eaters' patterns, a special fleet would attempt to open a portal to the enemy's home dimension. For the next month, humans from Earth and its colonies were spread throughout the Confederation fleet. Young officers like Minsu found themselves in command of alien ships. Scientists like Hyunwoo trained alien crews to think more flexibly. Engineers like Subin shared human technology that was sometimes simpler but more creative than advanced alien designs. Some alien crews adapted quickly to the human way of fighting. Others struggled, but battle by battle they learned. And system by system they began to push the Void Eaters back. Meanwhile, Taeho, Ji-un, Subin, and Hyunwoo worked on the second part of the plan. Using data from dozens of encounters with the Void Eaters, they designed a device that could open a controlled rift between dimensions. This is either brilliant or insane, Ji-un said as they looked at the completed device in Subin's lab. It was surprisingly small, about the size of a car, but connected to massive power sources. Maybe both, Subin replied with a smile. That's the human way, isn't it? When the day came for the final battle, a special fleet gathered near the edge of Confederation space. 100 ships, each modified with Subin's dimensional rift device and crewed by beings who had learned to embrace the human approach to warfare. All ships ready, Taeho reported from his flagship. Device power at maximum, Subin confirmed. Target dimension located, Hyunwoo added. Ji-un took a deep breath. Then let's bring the fight to them for a change. When the device is activated, space itself seemed to tear open before them. Through the rift, they could see another universe, similar to their own but darker, with fewer stars and strange energy patterns. That's their home, Hyunwoo said in awe. A dimension where energy behaves differently. No wonder they're consuming our space. They're hungry for our kind of energy. The fleet moved through the rift. On the other side, they found what looked like a vast, dark cloud that pulsed with the same patterns they had seen in the Void Eaters. That's their central consciousness, Hyunwoo said. The core of their hive mind. The battle that followed was unlike any before. In this strange dimension, normal physics didn't always apply. Ships moved in ways that would be impossible in regular space. weapons created unexpected effects. But this unpredictability favored the human-led fleet. They adapted quickly, finding new ways to use their weapons, communicating with music and emotional patterns that confused the enemy. The Void Eaters fought back fiercely. They seemed surprised to find their prey invading their home, but they still outnumbered the Confederation fleet. "We need to collapse their central consciousness," Hyun-woo shouted over the communication system. "But we can't get close enough." Jian looked at the tactical display. Her ship was damaged but still operational. She made a decision. "I'll clear a path," she said. "Taeho, be ready to finish this." Before anyone could stop her, Jian's ship accelerated directly toward the enemy's core, firing all weapons. Other ships followed her lead, creating a chaotic attack pattern that confused the Void Eaters. "Jiun, what are you doing?" Taeho demanded. "Being human," she replied simply. "Sometimes you have to take risks for the greater good." Her ship plunged into the dark mass at the center of the Void Eater's consciousness. For a moment, nothing happened. Then a massive explosion rippled through the strange dimension. She set her ship to overload, Subin realized. The reactor is creating a chain reaction in their energy structure. The dark mass began to collapse, in on itself. Taeho ordered all ships to retreat back through the rift. As the last ship made it through, Subin activated a second program in the dimensional devices, causing the rift to close permanently. The Void Eaters were trapped in their own dimension, their connection to our universe severed. In the months that followed, the galaxy began to recover. The Confederation changed in ways no one could have predicted. The strict hierarchy that had defined it for 20,000 years began to relax. Species that had valued logic above all else started to explore emotion and art. Those that had been rigid and formal learned to be more flexible. A year after the final battle, a new academy opened on Earth. Aliens from across the galaxy came there to learn what they called the human way, a combination of logic and emotion, planning and improvisation, respect for tradition and willingness to break rules when necessary. At TBITT, the Academy's opening ceremony, Taeho gave a speech to students from 27 different species. The galaxy expected heroes with shining armor and perfect solutions, he told them. Instead, they got humans, messy, emotional, contradictory, and exactly what was needed. As he looked out at the crowd, at being so different from humans, in appearance but now learning to think more like them, Taeho smiled. "We're not perfect," he said, "and that's our greatest strength.